They're starting out with erecting barricades and installing surveillance cameras. Now, why in the heck would you need barricades and surveillance cameras in a neighborhood that you are just dying to live in? Why would they need that? Right? It is about control.
Here's Jeff Bezos, who's one of the biggest screamers about climate change. And there was a post today. He's hosting a huge party in Venice, Italy. He says, here's how the elites are partying by flying 90 private jets to Italy to attend Jeff Bezos' $50 to $100 million wedding. All of them so-called climate change activists living like there's no tomorrow. Hypocrites, every one of them. So,
exactly.
So that's and there he is right there getting in his. So I've always said this, one private jet flight burns more carbon than my car does in my whole lifetime. And Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, and they all fly around the world in their private jets. They all have 400 or 500-foot yachts powered by 5-6 diesel engines for their leisure. And yet they want us all living in storage containers in 15-minute ghettos, driving electric scooters, eating the bugs that hit us on the face.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of that. So open-minded approach makes a great point. Why are they hypocrites? Why do they do things that they claim are harmful to the climate, such as flying around in private jets? Because they know the truth. Climate change is not primarily caused by humans, but by the sun, the magnetic field, and the ongoing So
exactly.
It does seem like it's about control. Does it not seem like that just like with the Digital Services Act and the censorship and now with climate change, it's about control, right? And that's why they have to hide behind. They're always doing it for your benefit. They're doing it to save the planet, or they're doing it to fight hate speech. And what I say is the people who say they're fighting hate speech are people who just hate speech, because it's the speech you hate that needs defending. So, so I don't know if you saw this, but that's what's happening right now as we're speaking. Jeff Bezos has having $100 million wedding, 90 private jets flying to his private wedding. So, it couldn't be clearer. Go ahead.
This is exactly it, and I'm so grateful that you actually said 15-minute ghettos, because that's exactly what there will be. I mean, they call them 15-minute cities, right? No, it's going to be ghettos. And, just looking at this concept in and of itself, okay, so we need to save the planet. So they erect all of those neighborhoods, with you reach everything within a 15-minute walk or whatever, and then it's for your own good. It's, we're so kind and we, need to save the planet. But, if it was just, for our convenience, if it was really for our benefit, what do you think they would start out when they are? I mean, in Great Britain, they're quite advanced with that, with the building of these ghettos. And you would think they would start out with, building schools, leisure parks, doctors' offices, amenities. You would think they would start out by building things like that. But what are they actually starting out with? They're starting out with erecting barricades and installing surveillance cameras. Now, why in the heck would you need barricades and surveillance cameras in a neighborhood that you are just dying to live in? Why would they need that? Right? It is about control. It is about restricting our movement. It is about taking away our individual mobility. It is about all of this. It has nothing to do with saving the planet. And none of these measures will actually save the planet, but it will enslave humanity. And we need to understand that. That is the whole issue here. And if the people don't begin to wisen up to this, and if they don't understand this, and yes, they are so despicable. They keep telling us it's just for our own good. And, that they're really, our governments are really looking out for us and they want the best for us. No, they're not. And the point is simply this. Never in the entire history of mankind has there ever been a political or religious or whatever elite been truly concerned with the welfare of regular people? Why in the heck do we think it's any different now? They don't give a damn about us. They really don't. It's all about lining their own pockets. It's all about, as you said it, they fly their private jets. They do whatever the heck they want. But we need to be literally enslaved and just do the work for them. That's what they have in store for us.
And according to even the Washington Post, and I talked about this just the other day on the show, and Joe Rogan brought it up to Bernie Sanders. Even according to the Washington Post, the Earth is in a cooling phase right now. Just that if you look over the most extensive research they've done, 450 million years of Earth's life, the planet was much hotter for most of that time than it is right now when we're actually in a cooling phase. And they always say, well, it's the hottest 10 years on record. When did you start keeping those records? The Earth's 4 billion years old. When did you start keeping those records? A couple of years ago? Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes.
So
all of those graphs and all of those pictures, they all show they started 1880, right?
Yes, correct.
Right before the Industrial Revolution kind of set in, right? That is their reference point.
Yes.
It's a scam. How can taxing people into oblivion ever save a planet? How? Tell me.
So you talked about how COVID was a trial balloon, and
yes,
and that was about surveillance and control. Correct? Is that what you think? And so what is the goal?
Well, the goal is to ultimately strip us of all of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, fundamental rights. As I said, have now been turned into privileges that the government can, grant or withhold depending on how you behave. So it's like, giving a dog kind of candy, if you behaved well. That's pretty much how they treated us, right? So if you take that jab, then, we might consider allowing you to go back to, like a bar or something. So, it was all about establishing or completely shifting our mindset on what we once thought was freedom, democracy, and a rule of law and fundamental rights. They needed to shift that. And they needed to do that in the Western democracies. They didn't need to do any of that in China. They didn't need to. China already is a totalitarian regime. They didn't need to do it there. They didn't need to do it in North Korea, already dictatorship. Didn't need to do it there, but they needed to do it in the Western democracies. And the problem they're simply having, they will not be able to implement their illiberal agenda and ultimately enslaving pretty much everyone around the planet if they don't abolish our concept of freedom, democracy, and a rule of law. And they do it step by step. So COVID, it was pretty much a trial balloon, as I said. They needed to figure out, what do we need to do to get people to simply do what they were told to do? And trust me, they have figured it out. And point in case, we had the COVID committee. That was a special committee in the EU Parliament. And despite all the lies we exposed, despite everything we uncovered, the report in the end, because it's voted in with a majority, repeats every single lie. The title of that COVID committee was Lessons Learned from COVID. And in the beginning, I was even like, what? They really want to look into where they went wrong and, what? No, they weren't trying to figure out, how they got it wrong. What they were trying to find out is, where did we fail to get the people to do what they were told to do? And they have figured it out. Trust me, they have figured it out. And when you go back to 2009, you might remember the swine flu.
Yes.
They tried it back then. But back then, they hadn't done their homework. So the media wasn't on board. And I remember back then, the German government, they also pushed the vaccine rather quickly, and it was suddenly available, lightning speed, and here it was. But back then, the media, they actually did their job. And they reported on these new vaccines, but there were scientists that were for it, and there were scientists that were against it. And they both got a platform pretty much in all of the media. It turned out as it did turn out. It failed. No one wanted that vaccine because it was simply not vetted enough. It wasn't tested enough. None of that. This time around, they got the media under control. And the narrative, it was the one and only that was allowed. And if you didn't say exactly what you were allowed to say, your practice as a doctor got shut down. You lost your job if you worked in a hospital. Social media posts were taken down. You lost your job. The whole shebang. So that was a trial balloon. They needed to see how far they can go to just subject people to ridiculous commands, and at what point where they wanted to do so much more, but where did they fail, and where do they need to put in some more work? It was a gigantic trial balloon. Yes.
Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Oxnard, California, Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.